Okay, so for this demo, we'll be demonstrating how to add a performing provider to an existing group through the group initiated requests. When you're on the provider management dashboard, you'll need to locate the MPI of the group that you're wishing to add the performing provider to. If you have a long list, you can use the search MPI function, put in the MPI of the group and click the search button or click enter to return the results that you're looking for. Once that MPI is returned within the results, you'll click the ellipses to open up the group's enrollment record. Once you're within the group's enrollment record, using the left navigation, you'll be able to click on Practice Location Information. Once you're within the group's practice location, you can scroll to the bottom and there will be a button to click Add Performing Provider. Click the Add Performing Provider option, and then you'll be able to enter in the MPI of the performing provider that you want to add to your group. Once you've entered the MPI, you can click the Validate button. It'll pull up the MPI information associated to that performing provider so that you can confirm that you've entered in the right MPI for that provider. Then you can click to select the practice location that the performing provider works at. This list will be all of the options for the group, all of those practice locations, so that you can choose which one that this provider will be practicing at. Once you've selected the group's address, you can click Add Performing. Now you'll be able to see that you have entered the record to add the performing provider, and it shows that it was initiated by the group's MPI. The left navigation will show all of the pages that must be completed with the information that pertains to the performing provider. So MPI taxonomy, this is the information that is pulled from MPES. You can confirm that information and identify which eligible Texas taxonomies that are from the MPES website are available for enrollment into Texas Medicaid. If there are any that are not eligible, those will appear in the Ineligible Texas Taxonomies view. You can click to Services Provided and select any of the practice locations other than the one initially selected that you want to add this performing provider to. So for is this a new location, you'll select yes, since this is a new location for the performing provider, and then you'll be able to select from any of the other group locations that this provider is also working at. Then you'll be able to indicate which programs that this provider is participating in. Note that these programs must be on file for the group location that they're rendering services at. Once you've selected the program, then you'll be able to make the primary and, if applicable, secondary taxonomy codes, as well as the provider type that's associated with that taxonomy code. Then you'll click Save. You can repeat these steps for any of the additional group locations for that group MPI that this provider is also enrolling as. Once you've made all of your selections, you'll continue down the left navigation and enter in the information for the performing provider. If this provider has already been enrolled with Texas Medicaid, certain data elements will already be pre-populated from their specific enrollment record. Social Security number and date of birth will be hidden for these purposes so that information is not displayed to another user that does not have administrative rights to the performing provider's MPI. You are able to edit any additional information that is not grayed out to provide the relative details to complete the enrollment application. After you've completed the page, click Save. Then you can continue navigating through to the next option within the left navigation pane. You can see any information that's been populated from the provider's previous enrollment record. You can click the ellipses and then open to edit any of the information or to fill in any missing information. For the Healthy Texas Women's attestation, you can confirm whether or not that there are any changes to the certification for the current year if there is already an attestation on file, or if there is not, you can update preferences within the application or make modifications to the existing current year if the responses have changed. If there are no changes, you can continue navigating to the next section after you've clicked Save. Once you've navigated to the Disclosures page, you'll need to answer each of the yes/no questions as it pertains to the provider situation. If a yes answer is provided to any question, additional fields will appear for the details that must be completed related to that yes response. If there are more than one set of details that matches that yes response, you can click Add Additional Response for each information that needs to be added to the request. For this demonstration, we'll be clicking No to these responses. If there are any yes responses, at the bottom of the screen, there's also an option to add additional attachments that are related to that response. You can select the question that has a yes and upload any attachments. Once you've completed all of the yes/no responses as well as made any attachments, you'll save the page and continue. Then you'll be able to navigate to the next section within the left navigation. You'll be able to see each of the group locations that were selected. Once when we selected it from the group's initiated request, and then the additional addresses that were added within the services provided section. You'll need to click the ellipses for each practice location to ensure that you've answered all questions within the subsection. There are 3 sections within each practice location that you'll need to confirm the information or add any additional information as applicable. Under basic information, this page is pre-populated with the group's address. There are no changes that will be able to be made to the group's address itself, but you will be able to enter in the phone number that you can provide related to that specific provider, as well as an extension or fax number that pertains to just that provider. Once you've made your edits, you can click Save and then continue to the next section within the left navigation. So to add a program, again, these programs that are available for selection will be the programs that are associated to the group. Similar to the services provided page, you'll need to provide additional details such as your primary taxonomy and provider type. These selections will impact the remaining questions on the page to ensure that you've answered all the questions that pertain to the provider type for the performing provider that is joining the group. If your performing provider is Medicare enrolled, for this particular practice location, you'll need to answer yes or no as it pertains to the performing provider situation. If the group is enrolled in Medicare, the performing provider should also be enrolled in Medicare for this practice location. If you select yes, additional details in order to provide the Medicare number and effective date will need to be completed. Medicare end date is not required. For the demo purposes, we'll select no. If you've selected no and Medicare is required for your provider type, you'll need to answer additional questions as it pertains to requesting a Medicare waiver for this particular enrollment. So you'll make the selections as it pertains to the situation, as well as explain and justify the reasons for making a Medicare waiver request within the box. Then you'll continue answering each of the questions as they appear based on your performing provider situation. Again, as this is a demo, we will be entering in dummy information for these responses. Please ensure that you have been providing the relevant information that pertains to your performing provider situation. Once you've completed all of the fields, you can click the Save button. If there are any missing fields, the page will show red text for the information that wasn't completed on the page. You'll need to enter that information and resave in order to continue through to the next section of the application. Once the page is successfully saved, you'll be able to navigate to the next section within the practice location. You can select county served. More than one option can be selected. You can do a quick find by typing in the box and then clicking on the return results and it will add it. You can continue and repeat this for each county served, as well as selecting any languages that are spoken by the performing provider for your location. You can enter in office hours for that particular practice location. And if the office hours pertain to each day of the week, you can click Apply to All. If there are any days that are closed, you can click the Closed button, and that will remove the time. Then you can click Save to ensure that all the information entered is saved on this page. If there's any missing information, again, that will appear. If not, you can continue navigating to the next section. Once all these sections are completed, you'll use the back arrow in the top left of the screen to get back to the main navigation panel. You can proceed to the next section within the application. If there are any attachments that need to accompany your request, you're able to upload those here. If not, you'll proceed to the agreement section. Click the ellipses and select the authorized signatory. This will be the email address needs to be entered for the performing provider to sign their agreement. Then once you've entered in an email address, you can click Activate Agreement. You can see at the top of the page the agreement was sent successfully. This will send an email to the performing provider in order to sign their HHSC enrollment agreement. You can see the status as sent. Once that has been signed and you refresh the page, then the status will update to signed. Once that is signed, you'll be able to click Submit. That button will not appear until the application has been completed and the enrollment agreement signed.